So if one beast wasn't enough, we're moving on to beast number 2.
It's so attractive. Yeah.
Isn't that pretty one? So last week we talked about the one world rule. Can't even say that. I must need a speech therapist. Last week we talked about the one world ruler, the Antichrist, the first beast, right? Who came out of the sea, and that was in the first 10 verses of Revelation 13 that we talked about last week. So he was given power to rule the earth, and he created a one world government. And so today we're going to talk about the second beast in the next section of Revelation 13, and we'll see what happens with him. So Revelation 13:11. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke like a dragon.
Oh my gosh.
So the second beast arose out of the earth and had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. So he's different. He's a little different than the first beast. Do you remember what the first beast looked like? He was like all the lion heads and yeah, right, and all horns. Yeah, yeah. And he had was a leopard body, bear paws. Yeah. But this one, and so the first one came out of the sea, right? Which we talked about means he came out of humanity. The second one, he arose out of the earth. So they both rose from different places. So the question is, what does that mean? And we'll look at a couple of ideas about what that means. You can get a whole, everybody's got their opinion about what it means. And I'm still not 100% decided, but anyway. So the second beast that rose out of the earth possibly means this leader is from Israel and is a Jew, because this beast sets up an idol in the temple. And they get that idea, these commentators, the ones that believe this way, because of verses like Matthew 24:15 and Revelation 13:14 and 15, which we'll read later. But today we'll read Matthew 24:15 right now. So everybody got that? So therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. They're saying that because now I'm going to forget how I worded this, but it's because a Jew would have set up, would have had access to the temple, and that's why he did it. I don't know if that really makes a whole lot of sense, why that would mean that, but then there's another reason when we get to Revelation, what did I say, Revelation 13, 14, and 15. When we get there, then we'll see maybe the other reason why they think it's a person from Israel, a Jew. But I just wanted to wait on that. So he's going to they also say because he's going to pose like a lamb. He looks like a lamb, which means he fits in with the Israelites. That's their other reason. Because he fits in, he's a lamb. Just like Jesus was a lamb, right? It's in their thinking. He's going to come off looking like the Messiah. So the Messiah is supposed to arise from where? Israel, right? From the Jewish people. So that's why they think that this person, when he rises up looking like a lamb, is going to present himself somewhat like the Messiah. So that's why they think it has to be a Jew. Deceiver, right? So that's the other reason why they think he's a...
Or could it just be anybody trying to come into Jerusalem?
It could be, but they're just saying because of the picture of a lamb, the Messiah verses are tied to that his presentation would mean, okay, well then he must be a Jew. I'm not saying this is the way it is. This is just what some of the commentators say. He's presenting himself like a false Messiah as the lamb, okay? And he's trying to deceive everybody. And this typical view goes with everything else we've read, is the preterist or the Roman Catholic view, because they do not look kindly on the Jewish people. So why not have this bad beast be a Jew? And that's the way they think.
And
So
just in reference in Matthew too, we were just reading this in Sunday school, the same section, and it is Jesus saying, you know, he goes on to say, so if anyone tells you there he is out in the wilderness, do not go out, or here he is in the inner room, do not believe it, for as the lightning that comes from the east, when he's talking about the returns.
yeah,
And so just, there's gonna be so many, I think even now we're having people that want to pretend to be, you know, resurrected, want to pretend, you know, it's like,
oh yeah, it's been going
I
on
think-
for years.
yeah, like how forever this kind of thing.
Yeah. So I'm not saying he's a Jew or not a Jew. This second beast could be, could not be. I don't know. But this is just what the Roman Catholics would tend to believe, that this bad guy's got to be a Jew. So then one of the Methodist commentators, he said this leader rises up out of the Roman church state, the opposite viewpoint. So this leader rises up out of the Roman church state, symbolized by the two horns, because they are, you know, the Vatican is a church and a state, right? So their theory is because this person presents himself, the two horns, it's the church state. So this is their view of it. And this is one of the Methodist views of this. So the two aspects of power. The horn is always a symbol of power. So the Vatican, the Catholic Church, they have the church and the state all rolled in one. So they say, okay, this leader has got to be a Roman Catholic, right? And I've heard that teaching a lot over the years. So whereas the first beast, the Antichrist, rose up out of the Roman Empire. So they're saying this is why. The other side of it is that that beast that had the 10 heads or whatever and all the horns, the 10 horns, that is a sign of the Roman Empire because of this, and this. They have all these historical things that point to the Roman Empire. So they're saying, so it makes natural sense that the second beast is also from the Roman background, which is the church state, the Vatican, the Pope, and that's their theory. So this Methodist group, this is what they believe, that the two bad guys in the end times are going to be through the Roman background, whether it's the empire, the government, or the church. So the Roman Empire divided into 10 kingdoms, that's where they get it, in the modern era symbolized by the 10 horns and the crowns that we talked about on that first beast. Of course, this correlates to the Catholic Church, the Vatican, and the Pope. They have a church state.
Isn't it the pastoral view though that views this literature as like apocalyptic literature, that it's cyclical and like it repeats
Cyclical.
Keeps
itself?
happening.
Yeah,
So
it's going to be a new bad guy for every generation for them.
yeah, when does it end for them though? If they keep,
When we learn our lesson, I guess, because their theory is God keeps doing this, allowing this to teach us a lesson, to get us to stop sinning, to start committing to Him, following Him wholeheartedly.
So it's already started?
For the pastoral view.
Yeah, okay, I must have been gone that. So, that we're in like third cycle and it'll keep on going
Right.
until we get,
Right, till we get it right.
oh man.
That'd be torturous. But see, they'll say people like Hitler and whoever, Mussolini,
Is
one group, one generation or whatever.
World War I.
World War I, yeah, every generation. But you're seeing this because it's Methodist and it's pastoral. But see, there's different, divisions inside the Methodist Church. So you've got people here like this that see this as a coming thing still inside the Methodist Church, and it's going to be based out of the Roman background. Whereas you've got the true, pure pastoral view Methodists who are going to say it's a cyclical thing and it keeps going.
I say that because I had watched the Bible Project on Revelation,
Mm-hmm.
and they totally threw me off because they were talking about Revelation in that way. I think they even referenced the Exodus of Egypt.
Right.
And
That's
the
cyclical.
plagues and everything, and how that was a cyclical, apocalyptic kind of thing.
They see the Bible as very cyclical, and there are repetitive patterns in the Bible, but whether it's to the extent of what they say. Yeah, I was going to show, if we get time one night, show that one I don't know, 5-minute video
Yeah.
that does their summary of Revelation. It's interesting to see how they see the book play out.
Only 5 minutes.
It's 5 to 8 minutes probably.
How many
minutes?
How many minutes have we?
I had watched it before we had done this study, but that was the first time I ever realized that people don't view Revelation literally.
Right.
There's different viewpoints on, or interpretations.
Right.
And what was that you said?
The Bible.
The Bible Project.
Okay.
They have a lot of good stuff.
Specifically on Revelations?
Yeah.
They have a lot of good,
No,
Little
yeah,
They have a
lot of great
yeah,
stuff.
There
Yeah,
too.
we supported them, but I didn't get that one.
I just, yeah, that part
It
didn't
says
because I
so.
don't agree with that necessarily.
Yeah. That's why you need to know what you believe. Read the Bible, because there can be a lot of great stuff that come out of different denominations. They have good things, but they may believe differently than what you do. So you just have to study and make sure you decide, listen to the Holy Spirit, this is what's right and this is what's not.
I
So-
believe the government is the devil because my tax debt ends in 666.
Well, then you're a Jehovah Witness.
Well, I was gonna say, that's up to you.
No,
call
that's
us.
what it ended in. I'm like, I didn't.
See, that's the basic premise of the Jehovah Witnesses. Government bad. Which is not far off. Right, we still have to comply, yes. So this is another Methodist. Now see, this is what I'm saying, there's some divisions inside the Methodists. Next one is another guy that's a famous commentator. He says, both wild beasts rise from beneath, which is interesting, and the sea out of which the first rises represents the tumultuous impulses and passions of mankind. So this is another Methodist. It just shows you that not every denomination may hold solidly to a particular belief system.
That's your little laugh.
sorry. Excuse me. Tumultuous impulses, that's it.
It's like when I'm shopping.
When I have to put it in safe for later in my cart.
Yes, I know. And you hope it doesn't get bumped. And then you guys ready for the next one? Okay, so the earth, the more fixed element of human thought and wisdom or society, consolidated and disciplined by intelligence and culture. So they're saying these two beasts represent two spectrums, the emotional, passionate, whatever side, impulsive, and the other is the thoughtful, thinking, disciplined, intelligent side. And these two beasts must come to work together to cause problems. It's a weird, interesting viewpoint. It's the first time I'd ever heard this viewpoint. I'm like, okay.
That comes from the.
This is another Methodist version. So I mean, there's like 3 different Methodist versions inside their denomination that they believe. So
And the first, they're blaspheming God, they're, doing all these things. These are not just, to me, when I look at this, these are not just impulses. These are,
right, yeah,
these are
right.
very,
Bad, yeah. So there's elements in each of these that make some sense, but what the exact answer is, like where the second beast comes from, what nationality, I don't think there's anything in the Bible that's going to tell you 100% he's Roman, he's Jewish. I don't, it's just a guessing game, and it's really not what's important.
I was gonna say, why does it have to be that important, where it comes from?
I think the devil likes to make people get off track. You divide that way because you get people fighting. Well, no, he's a Roman. No, he's a Jew, and then he's split.
And people also want to try to predict who it is.
Yes, they're
They
looking.
cannot know.
Yeah.
well, if anything, social media has taught us that. How many things you've seen click on there, like, I know you thought this, but I know this.
Oh yeah, right.
It's
Some
like
secret being revealed.
everything is like that for every podcaster, but also, at this point, do you really think anyone's gonna care whether you're from Africa,
No.
China, or anything?
No.
You've had like rain down, sulfur, you've had earthquakes, you've
It's-
had all sorts
It's
of,
a
do you think
weird
you're really gonna care?
Yeah. It's
Somebody's from anywhere?
it's just the devil, using people to
A
create
third world
issues.
population
It's like this is not critical stuff, but you see, I've seen it my whole life. People duking it out over
Yes.
Who is the Antichrist? Now, it's one thing to be aware and kind of keep your eye out, like, okay, are we heading the wrong way? Is this the guy we should be watching for type thing? But it shouldn't be preoccupying your every moment and fighting it out with people about who it is. Okay, so let's go back and read verse 11 and also 12. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed, which we talked about. So you've all heard about a wolf in sheep's clothing, but a dragon in sheep's clothing is worse. Right? Very kind of creepy, huh? Yeah. But see, that's Satan through this man pretending to be a lamb is going to deceive a lot of people and cause people to start worshiping the Antichrist. That's his main focus. That's his job. So as a lamb, the second beast is gentle, compelling, and approachable. That's what you think about a lamb, all right? And at first he is reminiscent of the Lamb, Christ. Jesus was approachable. Still is. So this imagery of the sheep, the lamb, it's telling you that he's going to be a part of a church, or he's going to be religious. That's why the lamb imagery is used. But the dragon is underneath that, which means Satan's using him and influencing him. Right? Everybody got it? So he speaks like the dragon. His message is the same as the Antichrist. And do you remember what the Antichrist was doing? Blaspheming God, right? And God's people. So the dragon, or Satan, he gives both the beasts their message and their assignments, what they need to do for him, which is all driven towards making people worship him. So they're both out there trying to fulfill Satan's purposes. And when we read last time, the Antichrist at this point, when the worshiping actually begins, is going to be when Satan's indwelling the Antichrist. He's possessed, you might say. And so Satan's the one basically getting worshipped. So Satan's goal is for mankind to worship him and not God. So these two passages, verses 1 through 10, the first beast, and the next passage, 11 to 18, where we are now on the second beast, they're most likely happening simultaneously. It's just that both of them were addressed separately. We're going to talk about the Antichrist, and we're going to talk about his false prophet. But they're happening at the same time as the Antichrist is rising to power and taking over the earth and becoming the one world ruler. This false prophet is rising in power and is going to go to work for the Antichrist and cause people. So it's happening simultaneously. But then when we get to the mid-trib, once that whole death and resurrection thing happens with the Antichrist, then all the forced worship is going to start. And there's going to be some bad stuff happen with that. So the second beast is the false prophet who runs the new one world religion of worshiping the first beast, the Antichrist. So the first beast is the one world ruler. The second beast is the one world religion guy. They're the two leaders of the world.
And we're still before mid-trib?
Now we're now approaching, we're in the mid-trib zone now, because this is when the Antichrist has already been killed and resurrected or whatever. And the false prophet is now going to force people to worship him because of this great miracle, right? Got to worship him. He's God. He's not just a leader.
And he's claiming to perform this miracle, like to.
What, the false prophet?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he claims to have done it. I think he just says, look what he did. He rose himself. Just like Jesus. Jesus rose himself. So this
Because
Antichrist did it too,
The
right?
second beast comes after he's been healed, right? Or
I think that's when he just starts pushing the world worship Antichrist or else. They're both rising to power.
Into some of it, yeah.
So, you know, we all leave the earth. Many church people leave the earth, right? A lot of empty churches around, hopefully, at that point. Okay, so a new one world religion starts to form, probably pushing the whole peace and unity issue. Let's all the churches get along. We see a lot of that today coexist, you know, on bumper stickers, including the satanic group in there. But I see what happens is, so the Antichrist is rising, bringing peace to the world, becoming the world leader that first 3.5 years, making a one world government. He's doing his thing. At the same time, a church is being formed, a one world church, one world religion. Then the death and resurrection, and the false prophet says, oh, we got to worship him. So now we're at when things get really bad once all that happens. Does that make sense?
Well, even was it last week, you even talked about how many groups are trying to do one world this, one world that.
Yes,
one world.
yeah,
And you can see how when that kind of time can happen, that makes perfect sense. You can see,
yeah.
have a one world leader, let's all have one religion, let's have
Mhm.
one currency, you know, everything.
I used to have somewhere, I don't think I've put it in this lesson, a thing about, I'll have to look for it, a thing about the groups that are one world religion orientated. And I was always proud of the Southern Baptists. They stayed out of some of those groups. I was like, keep your name off that list. We had some leaders that were smart, realizing what those groups were doing. Many other groups did not stay off that list. And I'm like, oh boy, get out of that group. Don't go into that group. So anyway, I have to look for that, see if I can find that. I had that somewhere. Okay, so as the new head of the worldwide religion, the false prophet is given great authority by the Antichrist to make the worship of him happen. There's a lot of different controversies, so to speak, about this one. So he performs great signs, so that even he makes fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. Yes, he's able to perform some miracles. Now the question is, just because the devil gave him the ability, did God let him have that ability? What, you know, different people think about this different ways. Why does he, as an evil person, have these kind of miraculous abilities? And I can't tell you. If I would assume it's just Satan giving that ability because God is allowing this. I don't know. But the whole point of the miracles, the great signs, and you don't even know how legit they are as miracles because we're just reading this. It says he performs great signs. Well, did he do some kind of theatrical magic trick that like many magicians do, and it's not really a miracle of fire coming down from heaven? Is it something he's created to drop from the sky? Nobody knows what he's done. It's just a great big magic trick.
So it appears like
Yeah, so it appears like a miracle. So
I can't think of his name, but he made the Statue of Liberty disappear, and
I know,
people were just like, how did he do that?
right.
But it was a magic.
It's a magic, it's an optical illusion. So who knows? I can't tell you. It just says great signs. I don't know if that means it's legitimately something very miraculous because God has allowed it to happen, or because Satan has that ability to make that happen, or it's just a trick. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. So the false prophet performs great signs, wonders, miracles, however you want to word it, and even brings fire down from heaven. Now that's a critical point why that's brought up. Do you remember a lot of Old Testament stories where sacrifices were given and God consumed the sacrifices with fire from heaven? Yeah, I mean there's quite a few. There's Elijah on the Mount of Baal, right? Let's see, Samson's parents, can't think of their names all of a sudden. They put an offering down and fire consumed the offering. I believe the same thing happened with Gideon. You see it in different spots where fire comes down as a sign that God is approving, accepts it. It shows that it's miraculous. Fire came down and took care of whatever was going on. And so this whole thing with the false prophet, it's a mimicking of God to show that there's power, that this has got to be God. Wouldn't be happening unless God was allowing us. So the miracles are being used to deceive and convince the people that the Antichrist is God and should be worshipped. A little awe and wonder to get people to turn. So there's some caution given in the Bible concerning miracles. So let's look at a few of those little passages, because miracles are what turn people's heads, and we need to be aware, because miracles happen even today, or at least they appear to happen. I mean, you can see religious cults and groups, tribal cults, whatever, do things that seem kind of miraculous, but they're not of God. It's things that's not of God. So you have to be careful about things you think are miracles. So Deuteronomy 13, 1 through 5. If there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder comes to pass, of which he spoke to you, saying, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet, or the dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. So this would almost sound like when those miracles happen, God's fully aware of it, may have even allowed it to be a test of the people listening, because he's telling them, don't do it. If the prophet tells you to chase after other gods when you see this miracle, don't chase after other gods, don't listen to that guy. You shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice. You shall serve him and hold fast to him. But that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken in order to turn you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of bondage, to entice you from the way in which the Lord your God commanded you to walk. So you shall put away the evil from your midst. So just because they're a miracle worker doesn't mean they're right? In Matthew 7, 22 through 23, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons? That's pretty miraculous, right? And done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. So it's obvious that people will have abilities. Now I could see a demon casting out a demon just because he just says, hey buddy, get out quick. I'm doing this trick. Right? And that's how you deceive people, because the demons are just working with each other, right? But it also says wonders in your name. I'm not sure what that would include, but Jesus himself is warning that people will have this ability to do the show to try to deceive you. But what did Jesus say about those people? He said, oh, we did great things for you. Oh, get away from me, because you did not know me, right? So that tells you that there will be church people doing great signs and leading people astray, but they don't know the Lord. They're pretending to be church people, but aren't church people, right? So Matthew 24, 24, for false Christs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. And that's what's really sad. The ones that supposedly have it set, know what they're believing, know the word, and they can still be deceived. So you got to be careful. So I like this quote from David Guzik. He said, judge a worker of miracles by their message, not only by their works. So if their message is away from God, then you know it's a problem. Don't believe the works. That's real good advice. So I see people, you see people falling for, I've seen those little cultic rituals, in some expose on some tribe somewhere, and it's like they're doing these really weird miracles, and people are just, it's like, no, they're not promoting God at all. Get away from them.
So
Can I say something really quick?
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching this show, I can't even remember what it was called, because I stopped watching it. It ended up being something, it was awful. A lot of blasphemy. But I didn't realize it until, literally, I'm gonna share this with you, and I didn't learn it until we were reading Revelation, and okay, I know I ramble, sorry. So I was watching this one part of the show, and it was talking about all these people looking for the Ark of the Covenant. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're ever gonna find it. Like, this is exciting, like all these people and all this stuff, right? It says it right here. It literally says in Revelation 11:19, then the temple of God was opened in heaven, and the ark of his covenant was seen in his temple. It's not here on earth. So I'm like, they're finding nothing.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't realize that because there's all these other artifacts that were found, like a lot of scrolls from like Psalms and just different things that were popping up from the when Moses parted the sea. But you know what I'm saying. And all these things like the chariots and all these other things that they're pulling out of the water. I'm like, this is amazing, yes. But then they say some nonsense like that. Like, I wonder if they're ever going to find it. They think it's in Jerusalem. No, they think it's in, all these other places. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I was buying it. I'm like, it's right here. So I'm like, okay, I'm done. Because I believed that it was still here on earth. Though I never read it. I didn't really know. I didn't ask questions.
But you're doing your homework.
But it's right here. And I highlighted it because and we weren't even in that section. Like I'm sure you were, but I'm just saying, like I'm not been here 80% of the time.
Right.
I don't know, I just thought it was
Cool.
Yeah.
yeah. And you
That's
just
exactly
really
what he means about knowing the
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you read follow the kind of, if I'm remembering, the following the tracks of where the Ark of the Covenant went. I can't remember which king it was, but he went to battle. He was told not to go to battle. Took the Ark of the Covenant out with him. He was a good, King Josiah maybe. I'm trying to remember. He was a good king. He was one of the better kings. Followed God. But at this one point in his life, the enemy was coming and he was just irritated and wanted to go to battle, and he took the ark with him, and that's when the ark disappeared. And it's like they never really did track it after that, I think, if I'm remembering the story right. And it's like, yeah, I don't think it's around. There's all kinds of stories out there about where it is, but you watch those like history shows or whatever you want to call them, and they'll be going along, and then all of a sudden they say all this really weird stuff, and it's like, and they're deceiving so many people because they, oh, this is history. Look at this professor's talking. Like, oh no, he's way off track. Yeah, I'm glad you saw that. That's cool.
and so, like I said, I don't watch that show anymore, even though I did find some of it very interesting. I found that interesting, but it was a lie.
Yeah, and it's still something God used.
Yes.
So.
And all those things are interesting.
I was just gonna say, it doesn't mean you can't watch it just because you know better.
Just keep it in check.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it on Disney by chance? Because I was watching one and I realized that they were saying that the Red Sea was just a lake.
I
and
can
it was
tell
people
you
who were saying
that it was Dennis
Oh, my
Quaid was
goodness.
the narrator.
Oh, narrating, yeah.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid was the narrator.
Yeah.
So I don't watch that.
Don't watch the one on Disney either. I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah, most of the stuff on the really secular channels, it's
Yeah,
probably not going to be
yeah.
accurate. There's always going to be something thrown into it. And then 2 Thessalonians 2:9-10 says, the coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So this is very prophetic of what's coming. There's lots of signs and wonders going to be coming during that tribulation period just to deceive people. And there's signs and wonders now to deceive people. It's the devil's, one of his tools that he does. So the Antichrist and the false prophet come with miracles and deception, but Christ came with miracles, love, and truth. Big difference. So Jesus also said in Matthew 7, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Well, in this case, a dragon. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. So with the Spirit of God, we can know false prophets today by their fruit. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. I say that all the time while watching the news.
So are these false prophets performing miracles in the name of the Lord?
Their
Or
Lord.
in their own
I think it's under self-gratification.
I think it's for, like today, like the ones that are doing it today, that's for themselves. The power that comes with it.
Well, just because we brought up that scripture where they're asking the Lord, 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 did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name drive out demons. So I'm just thinking, are these false prophets that we're talking, or the Antichrist and the false prophet, but also the other false prophets we're talking about, and even today, are they doing it in the name of the Lord to deceive people, or what?
I think they use the name of the Lord. They don't believe in the name of the
Right.
Lord.
Well, because it's not leading to the worship of the
No.
But I'm confused in the part where it says, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name?
I don't think it's these guys, because they're making an image of themselves in the next verse.
Yeah.
And everybody's gonna worship that image of themselves, nothing
Right.
about worshiping
It's-
Jesus.
I think the ones that we deal with today, it's all for their own pride, because sometimes it's power, and it's money. I don't know how many of them it's been money behind the scenes, and sometimes sexual pleasure has been part of it. It's just
So I think those-
self-gratification, what makes them happy, and that's why they're doing it. But they put up a big front like they're Christian. They'll say all the right Christian stuff, but behind the scenes they're doing everything else. That's why you know them by their fruit.
God wants you to have a Cadillac.
Yeah.
And if you live right, you will have one.
Mm-hmm.
You give enough to the church, or you
Mhm.
do enough this, that, or the other thing, then and I think that's where that, we did it in your name. They said, well, God blessed you, and that's why you have good things by this world standards.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really how I read the Bible completely, but, you know, for the true faith.
Yeah.
But I think that's where some of that comes from. And remember the guy who went out on the corner and beat his breast and he was just so to God,
Oh yeah.
praying to God that he was so glad he wasn't like a
Yes.
pious.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and then the man that was very humble was one that God wanted to hear.
Right.
And
Not spouting it out.
yeah, not look what I've done.
Right.
You know, people teach.
Well, and also, like you said, even that for Matthew's time, that was the Pharisees and Sadducees.
Right.
Look at all these things we did in there, you know.
But we've seen many a great Christian leader. I mean, their churches have a lot of people honestly following the Lord inside their church, but the leader behind the scenes was very bad.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of them during my lifetime, and that's sad. And I would call them false prophets.
Exactly.
True, still there, yeah. And it's just sad. And anytime I see like a filthy rich leader, I have to wonder, you know, why are you so rich? I know you can make good money. There's nothing wrong with that, but maybe you should be giving a little more of it away. You know, that's my own personal opinion.
150 pair of shoes is coming out.
Exactly. Don't mention that. Don't.
Susan,
Shoes are off the table. Shoes are off the table.
For this side of the.
He's talking about shoes.
But whereas I see this false prophet in Revelation, he's doing probably for pride, I'm sure, motivates him because he's all powerful.
Yeah.
But he's doing it for Satan, to worship Satan, not the Lord. He thinks the Lord is, you know. He could be just as easily deceived. Who knows?
Well, when you're putting yourself up for people to be very careful. If you want people to look at you, what
Oh.
you've done.
Yeah.
It's a very slippery slope. many
Oh, yeah.
times.
Always starts out great in the beginning, then you roll down the hill. Yep. So first Satan imitates Christ's death and resurrection, and then imitates God's the Father's answer to his prophets below with fire from heaven. It's always the mimicking, you know.
Well, because he's not original.
No,
He can't create.
no, he's not creative. That's right. He keeps using the same tricks over and over again, but he wants to be so deceptive. Say, look, we already have our resurrected Christ here. Look at the miracles my prophets do. You know, he's just imitating. So, and as I mentioned, if you read 1 Kings 18, you see how fire came down from heaven was a sign it was God, right? And you'll see other ones like that in there. So let's go on to Revelation 13, 14, and 15. And he deceives those, and he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So he's been given great authority just to kill you if you won't bow down. But we see that with Nebuchadnezzar, right? And we had the statue that the guys were supposed to bow down to, and they would not. And they were thrown in the fiery furnace. Same idea. These guys will be killed, and it's not going to be an easy time, because this is the moment, when we talked about before, where the final choice is going to come down. Are you going to worship Satan or God? Or you better be running and hiding until you can decide. Because this is it. This is where there's no turning back when this gets put forth to you. There's no turning back.
Where can you hide? I mean, you can't really hide.
There's no real safe place, but people are going to be hiding and running, because some people do not want to make the choice. They may see the guy as bad, but they're also maybe mad at God about something, or blame him for everything the way it is, and still don't want to accept him either. So there's going to people still be trying to ride the fence. But you would think you would give up at this point.
I would have given it a long time ago. I want to go with the first thing,
You know,
the last thing.
but there are going to be people that are going to be stubborn to the end, and the end's going to be death by the Antichrist and his false prophet, or, you know, there will be some that will make it through as well, undecided. I think they'll live, but they'll walk into that millennial kingdom, and they'll get the opportunity to see God in person when they get there. And it'll be a whole new thing too. So the false prophet now orders the building of an idol and performs another miracle that makes it speak.
It's just AI.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There's a lot of technology, just even at our level, that could do a lot of things.
And I feel like a couple of years ago,
You know, who-
that's what it was, right?
Who knows what this will be? How maybe it'll be a demon-possessed creation. You know,
Let's say that again.
maybe it'll be a demon-possessed creation, making it move and speak. So next week we'll continue talking about this idol and the mark of the name of the beast, and the name of the beast. Mark or the name of the beast.